Hey everyone. So I was supposed to be in Denver, Colorado for a work trip. I had a similar work trip last year that also went to Denver, Colorado. And there I recorded a What Am I Playing video showing what I was playing while on my work trip. I will include the link to that previous video in the down below. So I was supposed to be there again this year, and I was supposed to show you what I was playing, what I took with me to play on this work trip. Unfortunately, as I was heading out, I came down with a sickness. I had some sort of stomach flu. I don't know what it was. Doesn't matter. And I wasn't able to go. And instead, I spent most of this week lying in bed playing video games. Weirdly, playing the same video games that I was planning on taking with me because, I was in bed, so it was all handheld systems. So, this week's What Am I Playing video is going to be the games that I played while lying in bed sick. I hope you have more fun watching it than I had doing it. So I don't have any of my props. I didn't bring my Steam Deck down with me. I'm feeling much better. I'm recording it now. It's Friday, and I'm feeling better. I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling wonderful. So I don't have my Steam Deck. I didn't bring it down to show it. But let's start with the games that I'm playing on my Steam Deck that I'm also playing on PC. First up, Elden Ring. I've been playing the DLC Shadow the Erdtree. I've actually been playing it on PC and my Steam Deck. That's my solo play. But I also have a game on the PlayStation 5 that I'm playing with my friends. The PlayStation 5 game is substantially earlier in the game. I'm much further on my Steam Deck and on the PC version.
What have you done? You've wounded Count Emir most irreparably, such that he wishes for your death, and I must attend to the Count's concerns. My dear star, a fine mother, you will be.
So I might have mentioned this before, but I'm a pretty big fan of Souls-likes. You give me a Souls-like, and even if it's not great, I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna have a great time with it. Dark Souls 1 in particular is my jam. I probably replay it at least once per year. I couldn't even tell you how many times I have played the original Dark Souls. Bloodborne is the shit. I play that a lot. It has been maybe about a year or two since I played it, but it is one of those games that I do like going back to, and I have played it quite a bit. The thing is about Elden Ring is that while I do enjoy it, and I have played it a few times, if I'm completely honest, it's not one of my favorite From Software Souls-likes. It's great, don't get me wrong. It's got a lot going for it. And it's certainly, one of the greatest games ever. But it's just, when you compare it to the other From Software Souls-likes, I don't know. I think the base Elden Ring game is a little bit lacking compared to some of the others. And I know this is a bit of a controversial hot take, and I know that a lot of people might not necessarily agree with me. But in my opinion, it loses too much that I love from classic From Software Souls-likes. The big one is labyrinthine Metroidvania level design, and the world that is put together in such a way that it can loop back in on itself, and you're constantly finding new and interesting paths back to previous areas, new shortcuts unlocking to make traversal of these big, complicated worlds that much easier. You know, you go back to Dark Souls. At the very beginning of the game, you stand up there in Firelink Shrine, and you can look down over the edge, and you can see Blight Town. You look up, you can see the walls outside of Andorlando. You can kind of just see how the world connects together. And then as you're exploring, you're constantly finding new little passageways back to previous areas, new little shortcuts to unlock, and the world becomes fleshed out and real. And to be completely honest, Elden Ring doesn't really have that. At least the base game doesn't. Sure, you can have shortcuts that unlock in specific legacy dungeons, but in the open world itself, there really isn't anything like that. In fact, it made me think it really wasn't possible to have big labyrinthine Metroidvania level design in an open world game. I kind of thought, after playing Elden Ring, it simply wasn't possible. But the DLC changed my opinion on that, because in the DLC, they managed to do all of that in a big open world. You've got these layers upon layers of this big open world map with all of these interesting ways in which they connect and interesting paths of navigation. It's completely wild compared to the base game, and such a massive improvement. So I have really been loving the DLC, and I've had a lot of fun playing it. This game that we're talking about here is my solo game that I've played mostly on my Steam Deck, although I have played it on my PC as well. The footage that you're seeing here is from my PC. As at the time of recording this, I just barely beat the final boss of the DLC last night. I made it there about a week ago, but I was stuck on it for this entire time. I had to learn the patterns, I had to get good, but I finally beat it last night, and it felt amazing. I'm now at a point where I think I'm going to go back and finish the base game. I haven't seen all of the endings, like I said before. I tend to go with the Madness ending, so I would really like to see some other endings of this playthrough. I think on this personal solo playthrough, I'm going to go for the Ronnie ending, the one with the stars. But yeah, I have been having a lot of fun. Elden Ring is a great game. It might not be my favorite From Software game, but it's very, very good. And the DLC is really spectacular. Next up, the Thaumaturge.
Here you are.
Gentlemen, meet my brother.
Wiktor Szulski.
The last Shulsky to wear trousers.
You don't know that. Miss Ligia could yet produce an heir to the fortune.
Maybe even with me, if she doesn't tell my wife.
But let's talk like men. You intend to take over your father's company, correct?
First, I suggest you mind your own business. Your marriage, for instance. Perhaps Louisa isn't the ninny you take her for.
I beg your pardon?
Hasn't it occurred to you that when you leave her at home, she might also take advantage of her solitude?
What are you suggesting?
You've got a cuckold's horns. Was I being too subtle?
I suppose it's true what they say about you.
Yes? What's that?
You've lost your mind.
It's true. I'm completely nuts. I can't tell what's true and what's a bluff, apart from Puchalski's horns.
A dangerous oaf!
Good luck with your business, miss.
So I haven't mentioned this on the channel before, but I've been playing the Thaumaturge quite a bit. I've actually been playing it and trying to collect notes on it, I've got an idea for a long-form video on it that I'd like to do, so I haven't really said anything about it because, I'm kind of building up to that. But I have been putting a lot of time into it, and certainly while I was sick, I played a lot of it, so I should mention it. The Thaumaturge is a game that's developed by some former CD Projekt Red engineers, people who worked on The Witcher, and I think they also worked on The Witcher 2. Basically, they went and started their own company and took some of their ideas and created this very unique and original title. The Thaumaturge is a role-playing game with turn-based combat. The turn-based combat has kind of a deck builder aspect to it. All of your combat is represented by cards that can be obtained by leveling up your characters, as well as by unlocking special abilities and special modifiers. The game takes place in a fictional version of Poland in around 1905, during the height of Russian occupation of Poland. This is the time and the location that was one of the precursors to World War I. In this alternate history Poland, there are these magic-wielding people who have the ability to capture and utilize for combat various types of demons and supernatural cryptid-style creatures. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like Pokemon. You go out and you catch these creatures, and then you can use them to manipulate other people and to fight people with them. So it's kind of like Pokemon, but with demons. You play as a young thaumaturge who has spent the better part of his life traveling the world. You've got a lot of ambition and an awful lot of pride. You're trying to capture as many of these demons, known as salutars, as possible. And you may or may not have aspirations for bigger and better things. The game has a lot of twisting paths in its story, and you can do some drastically different things in your playthroughs. All told, there's 12 endings to the game, and I'm determined to go through and get every single one of them. I'm currently on my second playthrough, which is fairly close to my first playthrough, but I'm going to have a completely different path at the end of the game that I'm going to take. The Thaumaturge is another one of these games that I would describe as Eurojank, which again is a term that I use lovingly. I really do tend to love these Eurojank games. But what I mean by Eurojank is that it's a game that's put out by kind of a European publisher and has a lot of European game design elements to it, but which doesn't have the same budget as a really big AAA studio game. So there's less QA, there's less refinement, so the end result is that it can be a bit buggy and sometimes unpolished. But that's really part of the charm for these style of Eurojank games. That's kind of what I like about them. And the thing is that I really love about the Thaumaturge is that it is really unlike just about anything else out there in the video game space. It's such an unusual setting, such unusual characters. In fact, your main character that you play as, it's very hard to make that character likable. Your protagonist in most playthroughs is going to be thoroughly unlikable, which is a very bold thing to do, and I know it's going to turn off a lot of people from the game. But if you can get past that, man, there's a lot of really great stuff in this game, and the game has some really interesting storytelling. Honestly, I can't say enough nice things about the Thaumaturge. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to get into a whole lot of the story. So if it's the sort of thing that you're remotely interested in, I would suggest go and check it out for yourself. It's a wonderful game, and I recommend it very, very highly.
People! We're about to fight the first great battle that will change the course of this land's history! It will be the cue for a nationwide effort, and will inspire all the partitions to fight!
But the harbor will be ours. Right, Eddick?
First, we take the harbor, then Warsaw, and then we'll force the Tsar himself to negotiate.
Sergeant, this is getting out of control.
Let's get them, boys!
People! What the foreign power has seized from us, we shall now recapture.
Next up, Brotato. I've been playing this on the Nintendo Switch. Oh man, I love Brotato. Brotato is another one of these Vampire Survivors clones. You know, roguelike, vaguely bullet hell mechanics, building out a character using all sorts of different weapons and abilities, trying to build them up to survive increasingly challenging waves of enemies. Brotato is all of that. And while it is definitely a Vampire Survivors clone, it is honestly one of the better ones. It's one that I've played on Steam, and I've really enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun. And so when I found out that Red Art Games was doing a physical edition of it for the Switch, I had to pick it up again. And I have been playing the shit out of the Switch port. The game definitely has one of those just one more run kind of gameplay loops, and it's thoroughly enjoyable. It's filled with a lot of different unique weapons, a lot of different characters with different stats and abilities, different limitations and strengths. It's really enjoyable to just sit there and try to strategize, how am I going to build a character to survive as long as I possibly can? And then, of course, you've got the whole RNG, where you don't know if you're even going to get the right weapons for your build, so you have to be able to adapt on the fly. It's a thoroughly enjoyable experience. It's a great Vampire Survivors clone. And if you haven't played Brotato, I do recommend it pretty highly. The Switch port seems fine. It doesn't seem to have any real degradation from playing on PC. Admittedly, it's a game that doesn't really push the hardware too hard, so it makes sense that the Switch port would be just fine. But really, if you're interested in this game, wherever you can play it, that's where I'd recommend playing it. You don't have to get it for any particular platform. It's just great everywhere. Brotato is a blast, and it's something I definitely give 2 thumbs up to. So yeah, I wish I could have gone to Colorado. It would have been fun. It was a work trip, but you know, these work trips, they do tend to be pretty fun. My coworkers went to a concert, and I could have gone to a concert. It was Bush, and I didn't get to go because I was sick, and that sucks. But you know, you can't help it. It's not like I got sick on purpose. I do want to make one little announcement. This upcoming Wednesday, I am going to start streaming on my Twitch channel at least. I might also stream here on this channel if I can figure out how to stream to 2 different places without having to pay money. I don't want to pay money to have some third party. I want to figure out how to do it within OBS natively or using something in conjunction with OBS. And if that's not possible, I'm just streaming to Twitch. Who cares? Anyway, I'm going to be streaming the Thaumaturge. As I said in my overview of the Thaumaturge, I'm currently working my way through playing it 12 times to get all 12 endings. And it's going to take a bit, and I really like it. So I thought maybe some other people might want to come with me. Who knows? So I'm going to try streaming, and we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't work, nobody watches, I might not ever do it again. But who knows? Let's see. Anyway, see ya.